The purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. It is no substitute for professional care by your doctor or your qualified healthcare professional. Never disregard or delay professional medical advice because of something you've heard on this podcast or in any linked material. Guests who speak on this podcast express their own opinions, experience, and conclusions. Dr. Shirley neither endorses nor opposes any particular opinion discussed on this podcast. The views expressed on this podcast have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, practice, institution, or other entity with which Dr. Shirley may be affiliated.
Welcome to Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty. This podcast is curated by Dr. Shirley Madhere, MD, as the definitive source of holistic wellness through beauty.
Welcome to Forever Fab, the podcast dedicated to fashion, the art of wellness, and all things beauty. I'm your host, Dr. Shirley Madhere, your purveyor of this definitive source of living a most beautiful and fabulous life. Today's podcast is dedicated to owning your mojo. And so we have a beautiful, lovely, talented guest with us today, and I'm so excited to speak with her about so many things. I'm speaking with Susan Moses, celebrity fashion stylist, entrepreneur, best-selling author, owner of Major Mojo. And she has worked with people who I'm sure we all know. Queen Latifah, Britney Spears, Kathy Bates, Winona Judd, Tyson Beckford, Brandy, Jill Scott, and among so many others. Her work has been featured in Mode and Ebony magazines, and she has written a best-selling book, which I can't wait to talk to you about. Susan, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited to be here.
Honored and excited. You made it through the rain, the torrential rain.
Yes. It was a monsoon out there.
It was a monsoon out there, but you made it.
Yes.
And looking beautiful and illustrious, and the red lipstick is everything.
Oh, thank you.
You're so welcome. So welcome. You have such a rich history and a career equally rich, and both of which you beautifully write about in your book, The Art of Dressing Curves. And we're going to talk about curves today. And the title actually of this podcast is How to Dress When Life Throws You a Curve.
Wow.
All right, so let's get started. Why did you feel that you needed to write this book? And what and whom inspired you to write the way that you did? Because it's beautifully written, beautifully illustrated, and it's just rich. So what was your motivation for writing?
Well, I had been styling for over 20 years, and I have worked with women and men,
Yes.
but mainly women, from size 0 to size 28. And what I found was everyone kind of had the same narrative as you got to know them. Each woman had the same issues, Mm-hmm. I don't care what size you are. Society is throwing so much imagery at us.
Yes.
You should look like this. You should be that. And these are the women that I mainly work with are highly visible.
Yes.
So when you think about what society is telling you and a camera hitting you at every angle,
Right.
of course you're going to have some issues.
Boy, that sounds terrifying. A camera hitting you at every
every
angle.
angle,
I'm
every
terrified.
And over the years, I had so much knowledge, a combination of what, the talks and the conversations that I had with different women and, how we came to terms with making them look their very best.
Yes.
And feeling good about yourself.
Yes.
And so in some ways, sometimes I feel like a doctor.
Yeah, we have that in common, Susan.
Exactly. It's at the end of the day, I just want her to love herself, and I want her to feel good about herself. And when she walks out in front of the world, I just want her to smile and smile from like the inside. It's not just about that beautiful dress.
Yes.
It's about how I'm dressing her heart as well.
Agreed and beautifully stated. So we
Yeah.
do have that in common. So we
Yes.
want our clients, in my case, our patients, to feel like their best selves and put their best selves out there and to really love themselves from
Yeah.
the inside out.
That's-
It's not about the dress in your case, or in my case, it's not about the lips or the high cheekbones. It's really about how you are owning your power and
Yeah.
putting it out there
Exactly.
and making yourself feel good in
Exactly.
others.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So describe your childhood, and did your upbringing influence your career choice?
Very interesting question.
Thank
well,
you.
I experienced a lot of loss in my childhood. My father died when I was 3.5 years old.
Wow.
My grandmother passed when I was 11. And these were two people who were very loving and very kind
And very close to you.
And very close to me. So it was, what that taught me was how you treat people, because tomorrow is not promised.
That's true.
So that was a lifelong lesson. I'm very careful in what I say to people, how they're treated,
Yes.
especially when you're getting to know people. And doing what I do is very intimate, it's very
Yes, it is.
personal. And so that's important, because I never want someone to feel bad.
Yes.
The world does that to us. We don't need to have relationships
Yeah, we
where
don't
we
need
feel
the
bad.
extra.
So, but overall, I had a great childhood. I have a wonderful mother. She's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
She's a real fighter. You
Yes.
know, she raised 3 kids by herself, and she did a heck of a job.
Yes.
And the support system that I had, my aunts, uncles, cousins, you know, my grandfathers, I should say, from the fraternal side of my family.
Yes.
So I had really a wonderful child, well-traveled, filled with culture. I grew up
Yes.
here in New York City.
Yes.
My mom loved the arts. So that was a great influence. We went to Broadway, museums. You know, I grew up near Yankee Stadium, so there was sports. And, you know, we're all swimmers.
Yes.
So I had a wonderful childhood. You know, there's
Yes.
always the things that happened taught me life lessons.
Right.
But overall, it was filled with love and a lot of fun and a lot of laughter.
It's very evident in the book that you had a very strong support system and that your mother was just this source of passion and fire and energy, and that she helped to shape your perspective about loving yourself.
Yeah, she did.
So there's a time in the book that you describe going to school, and apparently you had some words, or you
Yeah.
heard some words. And
Yeah.
describe to me how your mother responded to your experience.
I remember coming home, and I was that kid that my mom would say, you know, if you have a question, especially around like the elders,
Yes.
that you're not sure of, please run it by me first.
Okay.
Because
Don't
you
say
know,
anything crazy.
I would say crazy things, and I love to read, and you know, it was always something. You
Yes.
know, Mom, my friend has 2 mommies. What does that mean?
Right.
You know, and back then that was like, oh,
Yes.
you know,
Yes, it was.
But it was, you know, going to school, there was always something. When I look back at it, when I look back on my childhood and going to school, I had a lot of issues with teachers, but I think it was like they saw a light in me. I was a different kind of kid.
Yeah.
And I had one teacher in 6th grade. She told my best friend that if I didn't lose weight when I went on to school, I wouldn't have any friends.
Wow.
And I was devastated.
That's traumatizing.
It was devastating. And so I went home and I could barely get it out. I could
Yeah.
barely speak those words because my mom was like, what's wrong? The next day, my mother put on her best suit.
That's right.
Mother was always whipped.
Yeah.
And
Tight.
she said, you go into school, we're going to act like nothing happened. I was sitting in class, and during the middle of class, she just opened the door.
Your mom did.
My mom just opened the door and said, I can't remember the teacher's name. It's been so long.
Yeah.
But she said, excuse me, but you and I have something to talk about. And she was like, Miss Moses, I wasn't expecting you today.
Yes.
She said, I know you aren't.
Yes.
And then they called me into the hallway, and she made her apologize.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So she's not only your mother and your friend, and your supporter, she's your advocate. She's got your back.
Yeah. She's my Shiro.
Yeah, this
Without
is
the
true.
cape.
Yeah. You could probably help her find a really fabulous cape, though.
Well, she does have a couple of those.
She does, I'm sure. Wonderful stories. And your book is filled with so many amazing stories. I would recommend to all of you listeners out there, please pick up a copy. It is absolutely inspiring.
Thank you.
And as are
Thank
you.
you.
Your life is to this day, and I'm sure will continue to be absolutely inspiring. So let's talk a little bit about some of the comments that you heard in school, and the comment that this particular teacher, highly irresponsible comment to say the least, made. So what was your relationship with food as a young lady, and how has that changed?
I think that I went through a period where I got like chubby, and I think that food was comforting for me because when you experience loss, sometimes that happens. You have to find something that's going to be there, no matter what's going on.
No matter what. And it won't talk back.
It won't talk back, and it'll be there. And then I went through a period when I became a teenager of, constantly looking in the mirror and wanting to be thin.
Yes.
So I became bulimic.
That's right.
And it was really, really horrible. That was a horrible time for me. I was about 16, 17 years old. One day, what happened was my mom went to a funeral. She had to leave town, and she left relatives with us.
Yes.
And it was weird. She cooked all this food. And I remember hearing her say to my sister, when I come back home, I'm going to take your sister to the doctor because she's losing too much weight. Something is not right.
Yeah.
And she cooked all this food, but I wasn't eating, so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
So I went with my friends to a party in the Bronx.
Yes.
And I'm waiting for the train to come home on
Right.
161st Street in the
Yes.
Bronx. And for some reason, the train took forever. I ended up passing out.
On the
I
platform.
passed out on the platform, fell into the tracks.
What?
I fell
yes,
into the
I remember this from the
I
book.
fell
That's
into
right.
the tracks. But before I fell, there was this really handsome guy that was coming down the stairs.
Well, your
So-
timing is just impeccable, isn't it, Susan?
I think he thought I was falling out over him. And he jumped down and picked me up.
Oh my
and
God.
the crazy thing is, I could hear the trains rattle before I fell.
Oh my God.
And when I got up, it was all these people around me, like blood was pouring out of my head. And this man was standing over me saying, "Are you okay?" And he had picked me up. And the police came and they were like, "We thought you were a goner."
Wow.
So it was the grace of God that I'm
Yes.
still here. Yeah.
Unbelievable. And how did your perspective change after that very traumatizing, dramatic
a lot
experience?
Of work. It was a lot of work. And once again, my Shiro, my mom, what I'm grateful for is that she realized that wasn't something that she can handle by herself. So of course I had therapy and treatment, and that was important.
Yeah.
And I've been an advocate of mental health for years, and it's really important, especially for our community.
Yes, agreed.
That we take care of our mind, body and soul.
Yes,
It's important.
holistically.
Yeah.
Which is a big
Exactly.
running theme of this podcast.
Exactly.
So talking about your perspective and how your mom and yourself got help for you and therapy, which I'm also an advocate of. So let's shift things a little bit, but along the same lines of perspective and realizing that something has to change in your life. Oprah talks about the aha moment, and it's the moment of a sudden realization or inspiration or a time when you realize, you know what? Things have to be different. So do you have a particular aha moment, or do you have many?
I have several, but I think when I was in school, I decided to go to college here in the city. At first, I wanted to go away. Then I said, you know what, I'm going to stay here.
Yeah.
And I was really attracted to law. I've always been the type I want to fight for others.
Yes,
Yes. And
justice
because
seeker.
I had a strong advocate in my life,
Yes, of
I think
course.
that had a lot to do with it.
Indeed.
So I decided I went to John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and I was there for 4 years. But while there, I started to dabble in fashion. And I worked in production, dressing different models
Yes.
and all areas. I just wanted to be around fashion.
Right.
Suddenly, it was like I just was enamored.
So is that when you would say you first fell in love with fashion? Okay.
Yeah, working in
Yeah.
production and working as a dresser at different
Yeah.
shows. This is when the shows were all over the city. They weren't
Yes.
in a tent.
Just one place.
Yeah, they were everywhere. And it was just fun, watching these beautiful women, get made up,
Yes.
the beautiful clothes, the movement.
Yes.
But one thing I realized is that they were all, not all, I shouldn't say all, but I would hear a lot of the complaints, my body this, my body that. I need to get this done. I need to get that done. And it's like, these are the most beautiful women. And it said something to me like, are we ever happy?
Right.
When is it enough?
Yeah. I know.
When is it ever going to be
Very
enough?
good questions. Work in progress.
Yeah. When is it going to be enough? And I think that changed my perspective on a lot of things. Because these are the women that you're seeing in campaigns and advertisement, but it's not enough for them.
Like these are the women that society says
Yeah.
the absolute best,
Exactly.
most beautiful,
Yep.
best of the best, creme de la
The
creme.
beauty buck stops right
yeah,
there.
the beauty buck stops right there. And,
And
yet you were hearing
I would
these
hear.
women, and I
Yeah.
guess sometimes men, but perhaps mostly,
mostly women, yeah.
talk about how they felt that they weren't enough and
Yeah.
that they weren't perfect.
Yeah. And the sad thing was when you saw work that wasn't done well. Like if they had work done, it wasn't done well, wasn't executed well.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate.
I don't know if I should say I have the privilege, but I guess it's a privilege to have an opportunity to help someone. But I have had some circumstances, where I've had to try to help fix something that didn't quite go well by another surgeon, and it's a challenging and difficult path because already there is the physical issue, and then just the psychological and spiritual almost impact that having a quote unquote deformity or something not right has on someone. It really can be very very intense.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So, did you ever feel that how you looked affected your ability to have opportunities? Because I'm sitting here across from you and I see a beautiful, exuberant, dynamic woman of color. But in throughout your life, did you ever feel as if how you looked would have affected your ability to get a job or work with someone? And I ask that because I have experienced that. And I'm a petite woman, but I have had incidents in my life where I felt that, wow, I wonder if it's how I looked, whether it's something I can change about my looks or something that I cannot change about my looks. So have you ever had those experiences in your industry?
You know what? I've experienced it in a different way. It was more about my being a black woman than being a larger woman. I
can understand that.
That has been my experience.
Yeah. And do you feel that that's changing more these days in fashion
definitely.
with inclusivity and diversity?
I think it's definitely changing.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's been slow. It's been a slow turn, but it's changing.
So describe your very first experience working with a fashion designer and a model. I mean, you must have been so excited.
I had done so many shows, and they were like major models. It was Beverly Johnson. I remember just sitting watching her get made up, and she could not have been nicer.
Oh, sweet.
There were times I worked one-on-one with Iman to get them dressed, because they would assign you to different models. But what was interesting is they would always assign me to the most difficult models. Like if we had one, because I would make them laugh.
Oh, that's great.
And after season, you see the same faces, and they would go, "Can you take care of that one?" Because and I would make them laugh because I'm like, "What can you be angry about?"
True. Yeah.
You're wearing beautiful clothes.
Right.
Your job is to put on a beautiful dress and walk down the runway.
Right.
Let's have fun.
That's true. So did you find that a lot of your clients confided in you, like a confidant? Because your work is very intimate.
This is before I had clients.
This is before you
when
had
I
clients.
was still in school
Yes.
and dabbling in, working in different aspects of fashion.
Yes.
I should tell you that during this time, I also started doing a little plus modeling myself.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
I can see
that
why.
was like a real self-esteem booster.
Yeah.
And so I did, but I never really loved it. I love the production of things.
Okay.
I love seeing everything come together.
Yes.
And while I was in school, I was in John Jay, and it was my last year. I had like maybe 8 to 12 credits to go. Yes. And I'm sitting in class one day taking a final, and I looked around and I was going, what am I doing here? I'm not going to do this.
Yeah. You had an epiphany.
I did. That was the real aha moment.
Yeah.
And I said, I am not going to do this. This was after doing internships in Center Street.
Oh, wow.
With lawyers and in the courthouses.
So you were on the lawyer path.
And but I was like, I'm not going to do this. This does not make me. This doesn't bring me real joy.
That takes a lot of courage
Yeah.
to go through a path, to be on a path, to put in the time, the money, the energy, the effort, all of that, to studying, and then to realize
this is not what I want to do.
This is not it because it's not going to make me happy. I applaud you for that.
But I always say I became a defender of curves.
That's right. Yes, you did. So let's talk about the curves. So what would you say would be the most, I guess the most advantageous, maybe that's not the right word, but the most appealing aspect to having curves? Because I know in society, curves are not necessarily appreciated. And even myself as a petite woman, I have curves.
All women have
I
curves,
love my curves.
Right.
I do know sometimes when I go to different fashion houses or stores and I recognize, wow, this piece needs a lot of tailoring because it's just not made for me. So what are some of the things that you have experienced hearing from curvy women and how they've overcome their curve issue, if there ever was one?
For a long time, women above a certain size were marginalized. There wasn't even a great market of clothing. Within the last, I would say, 10 years, a lot of things have changed, especially with the internet and bloggers and influencers.
Yes.
Because women are just not having it anymore. Like,
That's
you're
right.
just not going to tell us, you should sit in the corner because you don't look a certain way.
Right.
That's just not happening.
Not happening.
The world is big enough that we can accept all kinds of beauty in all shapes and sizes.
Absolutely.
And people have different preferences.
Yes, that's right. That's absolutely right.
So things are definitely changing. They're definitely changing.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to have been a part of the change.
Yeah, I'm sure you are excited.
Yeah.
You've worked with some amazing women.
Yeah.
So let's talk about one of the people with whom you worked. You worked with Brandy.
Yes.
And how long was your experience in working with her? And did you learn from each other through that experience?
Yeah, Brandy was my first. She was my first client that I worked with for a very long time. I worked with Brandy for about 7 years, and she was the reason why I relocated from New York to LA.
Okay.
To work with her on her television show Moesha.
Yes.
And she was a teenager. What I learned. All teenagers are going through, I was able to draw from my own life experiences to pour that into her and to be a good listener. It taught me about listening also. Part of my job is you really have to listen and pay attention. And it was a really, really good experience working with her. It was in so many different mediums because she did music.
Yes.
She was all media, campaigns, the TV show, and
Yes.
I did it all. So
Good
it
for
was
you.
it was a great experience,
Yeah.
and so many other girls looked up to her that were coming up, and that's how other clients came to me. And during that time, I had the pleasure of working with Britney Spears,
Yes.
Destiny's Child, the
Yes.
original
Yes.
Destiny's Child, and
Yes.
and then came Queen Latifah.
Right. Now describe your experience working with her. I suspect that it was different. She was obviously not a teenager.
Nope,
she
she-
was seasoned. She also has a different experience in various parts of the industry. She doesn't
Exactly.
just act, but she produces and she sings. Oh, by the way, she's an entrepreneur. So what did you learn from her?
What was great was I had worked with Queen. I had started working with Mode Magazine.
Yes.
And Mode Magazine came out, and I saw one issue, and I said, I've got to find where their headquarters, what are they doing, what's
Yes.
next? And I contacted them.
Good for you.
And I became one of their contributing editors.
So you had the vision and then you acted on it.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
I've always been very. If I want something, I'm gonna do the work.
I love it.
And,
Owning your mojo. That's right.
So they hired me to style Queen for a cover, and the cover was like iconic. It was so beautiful.
Yes.
Like she was like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was weird. For almost 10 years, she and I could not connect because I was always busy.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a luxury
That was
problem.
crazy. And then finally, I was taking a break after Moesha went off the air. I go to a party and I hear somebody go, "Hey, lady, you think you got time for a queen?"
Wow. That is such an iconic statement or question. Hey, lady, you think you have time for a queen? I love
and
it.
I turned around, it was her.
Yes.
And,
Brilliant.
like within a week, we connected and we worked together for like 7-8 years. It was,
Amazing.
yeah.
And
And it was during a time where things were changing for her. She had just done Chicago and her career was changing. So it was perfect. And
Yes.
I always thought she was one of the most beautiful women in the industry.
Inside and out.
Yeah, she's a real beauty. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Do you still keep in touch?
Yes, we do.
Good for you.
Yes, we do.
Well, tell her I said hello.
I will.
And please have her subscribe to Forever Fab podcast. I actually, seriously, I am serious about that. But I learned so much from your book. I consider myself stylish with my own style, but I read your book and learned so much about so
thank you.
many things. I never thought that owning your mojo included knowing who you are and what exactly works for you and what doesn't work for you. I mean, thinking about whether it's your size or your mood or your personality and what watch to wear or what bag to hold. I learned so much from your book. So let's talk a little bit more about that. I didn't realize that accessories could be worn according to body type. So let's take a couple of accessories. Let's take earrings and a watch. What do you think?
Well, I think sometimes when you're a larger person, if it's so small, like so tiny, but it's supposed to be a statement, it's not a statement.
Right.
I'm like, if it's like either go big or go home.
That's right.
You know?
Right.
If you're going to make a statement, make a statement.
Right.
Like, I love your pile of
Thank you.
I love it. That's a statement.
Thank you.
You know?
Thank you very much.
And that's the way I see it. You know? There's nothing wrong with a small earring on the ear, but if you're
Yes.
going to do a dangle that is supposed, like I said, it's supposed to be
supposed to
making a
dangle.
then let's dangle.
Okay.
You know?
I love that.
And sometimes a purse can be too tiny. Like, it's so small. Like some of us have larger hands.
Yes.
And if you're on a red carpet or you're making an appearance and the purse is so small that your audience can't even see it.
Right.
So those kind of things matter. And when you're dealing with people who are highly visible and they're talking about what they're wearing, you want it to be visible.
Right. I think I may not do so well on that, only because I've been accused of carrying bags that are like twice my size. And I'm sure, my doctor is thinking I might have some
that
kind
can be
of-
an issue also.
Yeah, that's definitely not so cute. So you use the term in your book, curvy confidence. How do you describe that?
Curvy confidence to me is women who are just owning their body. Like, no matter what size you are.
Yes.
Even if you want to lose weight, if you want to gain weight, if you want more muscles, you have to love yourself through it. That's the main thing. You have to love yourself no matter what.
We should just end the podcast right there, because that was just like the opener, the ender, the be all and end all. You should just love yourself. This
just
is
love
what
yourself through it.
Man, self-love.
The world is beating us up every day.
Okay.
Every day. So
Every single day.
If there's anyone you gotta love, it's yourself.
Absolutely. Well, a little bit more on that. If you can't love yourself or you don't love yourself, how are you expected to love anyone else?
Exactly. Yeah.
We can actually do an offshoot of this podcast and talk about self-love and get all spiritual. I love it. We'll have you back, Susan. Thank you. Okay, so a couple of other things, a little bit off subject, but I loved asking some of these questions. Complete this sentence. I am
happy.
Amen, sister. I love that. What are you most grateful for?
My life. My life.
That just sent chills.
I'm grateful for my life. Yeah.
Wow. That's good.
That sent chills for me.
Yeah, right?
It's something we take for granted, I think. It's a gift every day.
Agreed.
It's a gift.
We're just going to have to do just a moment of silence on that.
Yeah.
Gratitude for your life.
For your life.
Thank you.
We're
Thank you
all
for bringing
breathing,
that to
sitting
light.
here,
True. What do you think is the current state of fashion? What do you think can be improved upon, and what are you excited about for fashion in the future?
What's wonderful is that there's a little bit of everything that's in. And women are really wearing what they love to wear.
Yes.
If you love hammer pants from the 90s, girl, go
Like
for
MC
it.
Hammer pants?
If you love a harem pant, wear them. If that's what what makes you feel good,
Do you?
And I think that's what's exciting. Like, I'm seeing a little bit of everything. I'm
Yeah.
seeing the 90s influence,
Yes.
the 80s influence. There's a lot of different influences right now.
Yes.
And another thing I'm happy about is that the whole swimsuit industry has changed.
Absolutely.
That's like really, really amazing.
Yes.
Swimsuits, denim, a lot of things have changed, and that's really exciting. I think one of the other things we do have to pay attention to is sustainability.
Yes.
The fast fashion industry is causing a lot of problems, and that's one of the things we must pay attention to.
So
Yeah.
who do you think, which designers in your mind are paying the most attention to sustainability? I know a lot of fashion houses are attempting to do that, but it's challenging.
Yeah, it is.
So who would you give the most credit to for at least initiating or getting involved in that movement?
Eileen Fisher is one. It's on their site. They're doing some amazing work in that area. There's another company that I like called Reformation.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they really have some great stuff, and it's really like forward and beautiful, and yeah, they're doing really good work in that area.
So speaking of sustainability, maybe not. I know you watched or perhaps were there at this year's Met Gala. Camp.
I watched.
Okay.
Oh, loved.
Camp.
Loved.
So who would you say were the best dressed or most exciting to watch walk that carpet? I know,
a lot.
a lot. Really? You
Can
thought
I
a
say
lot?
it was my favorite?
Okay,
I
so name a
think
few that you loved.
Naomi Campbell.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
She gave it.
Oh my gosh.
She did give it.
Janelle Monáe.
Oh, always.
Amazing.
I really admire her and her sense of
Amazing.
style.
Lady Gaga.
Of course.
Drama and carrying on. 5 changes on the red carpet.
I had 3 changes at my wedding. I thought, for 5 is definitely
Yeah.
serious.
Zendaya was
Yes.
a princess.
I really admire that young lady. She's intelligent. She's outspoken. Oh my gosh, I look at her and I see all that
Yeah.
she's doing and I feel like, oh my gosh, I was so not that motivated
She
of a
was
teenager.
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Loved it. It was whimsical. It was fun.
Yeah.
And to me, for the first time, like a lot of times they look a little miserable on the carpet
She
at
was
the
probably
gala.
killing them.
But this one, everyone looked like they were really enjoying.
It was lighthearted.
They were
it
enjoying
seemed.
what they were wearing.
Yeah.
It wasn't so thematic where
Right.
they couldn't have fun with it. So
Right.
a lot of they just took the ball and I can't leave out Billy Porter.
Oh
with
my
the
gosh.
wings.
I mean, Right? And then the entrance.
Oh my goodness.
The entrance.
That entrance.
I think that
we
was
should all
epic.
go to work like that, right?
If only. If only. Unbelievable.
Amazing. It was so many. I could go on and on because it was a lot. Sierra with the
my
afro and the green gown.
I loved that look. She looked fantastic.
Fantastic.
And all these people that we're mentioning, I'm sure they'll be subscribing to the Forever Fab podcast if they haven't already. So, who do you follow on social media and why?
Who do I follow?
If you follow anyone.
I follow a lot of people, but I follow a lot of the people in the curve community. These are the women, the influencers, and the bloggers who are. I give a lot of credit to them turning things around.
Yep.
And moving things forward. So I follow a lot of people in that arena and different designers.
Yes.
I definitely follow Sukenya.
Yes.
Omar.
Yes, Omar. We've had him on
Love,
the podcast.
love,
He's
love.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Obviously, you and I met because of him.
Exactly.
Thank you, Omar and Yasmina.
You know, I'm a real big supporter of Black designers because it's been very difficult. It's expensive to have a line.
It really is.
It's really, really, there's people don't realize it's a lot that goes into it. And
it's not just the creativity.
No, it's not. It's far from just that. Yeah. But I follow a lot of creatives, I should say.
Yes.
I follow a lot of creatives.
Wonderful. Yeah. And what is your social media handle?
Susan Moses NYC.
Susan Moses NYC. You
Real
heard it,
simple.
Real simple. Okay, so couple of final questions. This one is called a Fast Five, and I'm just going to name two different things, give you two choices, and you just have to say immediately what comes to mind. Don't even think about it.
All righty.
Okay? So the first one, fur or feathers?
Feathers.
Ooh. Black or color?
Black.
Stilettos or ballet flats?
Stilettos.
Little black dress or crisp white shirt?
Little black dress.
This one might be hard. New York or LA?
Aww.
I'll let you slide on both. I'll let you slide on
New
that.
York is home, though.
But
I love LA. I have so many wonderful friends there.
LA's been good to you.
Yeah, it's been really good to me. Really good to me.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And speaking of fur, I know that was the first one in the choices. What do you think about fur versus faux fur? One is sort of natural / organic, maybe the other, petroleum and
you know what? The faux fur market has really come a long way.
Yes, it has.
I mean, some of the fibers are so supple and amazing that it's hard to tell the difference.
Yes.
And I think with everything, things change.
This is true.
That time has come.
Yeah.
And but I also think, I know it's a big issue right now here in New York.
Yes.
We also have to consider that there are over 1,000 people that work in the industry, and give them a chance to turn that around and not just take the job away from them. I think you have to give people a moment and just not put them on the unemployment line.
This is true too. I mean, I think it's a very difficult and challenging situation. Yeah. I still haven't figured out where I fall yet, but last question, Ms. Moses. What are your top 5 recommendations for living a fabulous, beautiful life?
My number 1 is to find your tribe of happy and joy. People who have like spirits, people who pour into your life and are positive. You don't need to be around negative Nancy.
Or Debbie Downer.
Exactly. Leave negative Nancy at home.
Right.
And live without fear. Take fear and tell her to go outside. And close the door and never let her back in. Be as fearless as possible. And don't be afraid to pursue your dreams. You don't want to lay on your deathbed saying, I shoulda, woulda, coulda. You want to say, I did, and I did the damn thing.
That's right.
You did the damn thing.
So find your tribe of happy. The second is live without fear. The third is pursue your dreams. And what are 4 and 5?
4 and 5 is wear what you like.
Yes.
Wear what you like, Wear the colors you like, wear the fabrics you like, the silhouettes. Wear what you like and what makes you happy and feel good. And lastly, love yourself.
Oh, we started with that.
We're into that.
I love it. So when life throws you curves along the road, steer confidently in their direction.
Yes.
Do not turn against the curves. They
you
may
go.
be for your benefit.
Yeah.
And always dress the part, of course, right? Whether a straight path, a curvy path, dress the part. So everyone, if you'd like a deeper understanding of how to increase your confidence, reclaim your mojo through the power of dress, no matter what your shape, your size, your fashion philosophy, please pick up a copy of this amazing book, The Art of Dressing Curves by Susan Moses. Susan, thank you so much for your energy, your insight, your fashion expertise. I would love, love, love to see you again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And thank you for listening to this week's Forever Fab podcast episode. Until next time, stay beautiful inside and out.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty, curated by Dr. Shirley Madhere, MD. Live beautifully and help make the world a more beautiful place.